Hello, my little world dwellers. Do you like games that offer you a high degree of freedom, where you can go whenever you want, kill whoever you want, and play cards with a supercomputer? Today, I'll tell you about one of the best classic RPGs, Fallout 1, released in 1997 by Interplay Productions, a game that not only changed the industry by introducing new mechanics and storytelling techniques, but also helped shape the future of RPGs and open-world games. Fallout 1 takes place in a post-apocalyptic Southern California, 84 years after a nuclear war between the United States and China. Nuclear devastation turned most of the world into a radioactive, hot desert, known as the Wasteland. Animals mutated, millions of buildings and cities were demolished or severely damaged, and society is struggling to rebuild. To start the game, you need to pick a character. There are 3 options available, 1 woman and 2 men, each with a unique story and build. We don't care about any of this, so just select your preferred appearance and hit modify. Now let's talk about special, which is an acronym for your 7 primary attributes. Strength allow you to carry more items, hit harder, and intimidate some people. Perception is essential for guns, because it affects shooting range and accuracy. Start the game with high endurance, and even a radioactive crater won't kill you. Charisma is generally useless in the first Fallout, so you can completely ignore it. Intelligence, on the other hand, plays a significant role. Starting the game with 1 intelligence compared to 9 intelligence will make your playthrough completely different. With high agility, you have more action points during battle. Considering this game has a turn-based combat system, it's one of the most important attributes. And finally, if you want to kill your enemies with devastating crits, putting more points into luck might be a great idea. Keep in mind that this game takes your attributes very seriously, as they significantly impact both gameplay and your character's abilities. For example, intelligence. I like starting the game with 1 intelligence, because it's the funniest way to play. Here's an example of dialogue with low intelligence.
Hey, you not look like Ghoul. How come? Huh? What?
I fucking love this game, and it's just a small part of absolute gems of dialogues you will see throughout the story. Basically, Fallout 1 allows you to roleplay as a mentally retarded. You will be treated like a fool or junkie by nearly everyone, and will largely communicate through grunts and moans. This could easily jeopardize your life, because eventually you will stumble upon a place you're not allowed to visit, and "da" isn't the right word to explain yourself. Once I visited a church, only to say "Mummy" to the high priestess. She was so offended that after calling guards, immediately tried to kill me. Luckily, you can avoid these situations by using mentads. 2 packs of mentads can temporarily increase your intelligence, allowing you to actually talk with people. They are absolutely essential for low intelligence playthroughs, because without them, you won't be able to complete some quests or get better gear for your character. Speaking of characters, let's get back to character creation. Aside from special, you have traits and skills. Generally, any trait that gives you additional attributes is a very good choice, because there's not much you can do to raise them. That's why gifted is the best trait in the game, if you play with high intelligence. But if you don't, it's the worst thing you can possibly take, because with low intelligence, you already receive a pathetic amount of skill points per level, and gifted decreases that amount even more. You will end up getting only about 4 skill points per level, and inevitably die in the Wasteland. Skilled could probably solve this problem, but it's a very situational perk. Instead, take small frame. It makes your inventory size a little bit smaller, but in return gives you 1 extra agility. One-hander increases your accuracy with one-handed weapons, like pistols and blasters. If you're planning to use them, great. Otherwise, it's better to pick something else. Finesse reduces your overall damage, but significantly increases your critical chance. It's a very good trait for sniper builds, because damage reduction doesn't really matter when each of your shots is critical. Do you enjoy close contacts with your enemies? If so, fast shot is essential for melee builds, as it reduces all weapon attack costs by 1, including big guns. What's the downside? It completely removes targeted shots. But who cares about VATs when you can punch your enemies 10 times in a row? Other traits aren't even worth mentioning, except for Jinxed. I tried playing with Jinxed and it's complete madness. One moment a man shoots at you and his gun explodes. The next, you try to hit someone and drop your fucking power fist on the ground. It's less of a serious game and more like a comedy. Finally, we have come to skills. They are divided into combat, active and passive categories, but I like to generalize them as either useful or useless. At the start of the game you can take 3 skills, which gives them an additional 20% boost and allows you to upgrade them faster with each level. Most players choose speech, lockpick and their preferred weapon type. Speech affects dialogues, and with a higher level I managed to get a discount. Twice. Lockpick is the most used skill in Fallout 1, which is quite understandable, because there are many locked rooms with important NPCs and valuable loot. If you want to get your hands on it, you will need this skill, or you can just use dynamite to blow up the doors and get in there anyway. The game doesn't restrict you to one choice. Personally, I like playing with energy weapons, lockpick and of course gambling. Did you know that 99% of gamblers quit before they win big? It's by far my favorite skill in this game, because it completely frees you from the hassle of inventory management and allows you to enjoy the game without limitations. I also built a small macro script to press 4 and 1 repeatedly for several minutes, so I could leave my desk and come back with at least 30,000 caps in my inventory. The only problem is paying off the merchants when the price of certain weapons is very high. You see, the barter system is scuffed and you cannot pay the full price at once. No, each time you need to manually move 1000 caps at a time into the barter menu until there is enough money to pay. So depending on the price, it may take more than a minute to actually buy something expensive. But I guess it's a small price to pay for financial independence. Also, there is no reason to raise your fighting skill higher than 180%. But I still do, because even with 1 intelligence, you receive more than enough skill points to upgrade your tech skills. The same goes for lockpick and repair. 80% in lockpick and 40% in repair is more than enough to unlock doors in the cathedral and repair the water pump in Necropolis. As I've already mentioned, Fallout 1 has a turn-based combat system, which sometimes can be frustrating, especially when fighting against multiple enemies, because you have to wait for each of them to finish their turn. So I sincerely recommend you change combat speed to fastest and hit the checkbox to affect player speed as well. It will improve your life greatly. Also, you can't alt-tab this game, because it turns into some monochrome nightmare and becomes unplayable. If you didn't take the fast shot trait, you can use VETs by right-clicking on your weapon. It will cost 1 action point more, but allows you to aim at any part of your enemy's body. Generally, you go for the eyes almost all the time, because it increases your critical chance. On rare occasions, if someone starts running away from you, try shooting their legs. It will help you shorten the distance and finish them off. Reloading costs 2 action points, so it's better to reload your gun before a fight, rather than do it in the middle of combat. And if you can't reload your weapon, it means you don't have ammo for that weapon. I was confused too, when in my first playthrough, my new power fist suddenly stopped working. It turns out you need small energy cells to properly use it, otherwise it won't do shit. Ammunition can be acquired from certain traders or directly from your enemies by discharging their guns. With all that knowledge, you are finally ready to explore the Wasteland. But before that, story. You are a vault dweller sent on a suicide mission to retrieve a water chip. Why? Because the water chip in your vault is broken and you need to find a replacement before your friends and family in Vault 13 die from dehydration. The current water supply will last only for 150 days, so you better look everywhere to find that chip. Yes, this game has a time limit, but don't worry, there's more than enough time to finish the objective and all the side quests. Also, you can buy yourself even more time by sending water merchants to your vault. It may have some consequences in the future, but I didn't see them. Probably because I played with Fallout Fixed, when the second timer was significantly reduced from 500 days to 13 years. Anyway, you found a chip? Great! Now get the fuck out and destroy super mutants. There's no time for resting when the whole world is in danger. And I'm not even joking, super mutants are the real threat in the first Fallout. It's not some mindless groups that you can meet in the Commonwealth. No, it's a whole organization controlled by Master, namely the Unity. But who is Master? Well, I don't know how to explain this, so I'll just show you.
So what shall it be? Do you join the Unity, or do you die here?
Join.
Die!
Join.
Die!
Master, formerly Richard Gray, is the main antagonist in Fallout 1. He wants to create a new world with only one race, mutants. To achieve this, he plans to enslave the remaining human population and dip them into FAV, to produce more mutants. From his point of view, turning people into freakish monstrosities is the only way to save humanity. And he's half right. Mutants are immune to radiation and infections, which makes them the perfect species for survival in the nuked world. But there's only one problem in his master plan. Super mutants are sterile and can't reproduce with any living creature. To put it bluntly, they are doomed to extinction. And when you tell that to Master, he falls into depression and commits suicide. That's what makes him an interesting villain. He's neither good nor bad. His desire to bring peace to the world was the only meaning in his life, and when that disappeared, so did his will to live. Of course you can kill him yourself, but if your build sucks, you'll be having a hard time. After all, it's the strongest enemy in the game. It has to be this way. And that's pretty much it. You have a lot of places to explore, enemies to kill, but more importantly, characters to talk to. Every NPC on the map has at least a few lines of dialogue. Humans, ghouls, mutants, even animals can speak, and you can easily understand whether the person you are talking to is important by talking heads. The first few that you meet on the path to Vault 15 are Tandy and her father Aradesh, who looks like a Minecraft villager. Aradesh is the leader of Shady Sands, a small settlement that subsequently becomes the New California Republic. You can help him by dealing with rat scorpions and raiders who kidnapped his daughter. Like most teenagers, Tandy is very ungrateful, because even when I saved her from certain death, she refused to elaborate further. Yet, I saw comments from some people saying things like, "I've lost gallons to her." Honestly, I'm not surprised. It's a well-known fact that men have low standards, and even a pixelated portrait of Tandy can stir up such feelings in some individuals. I don't judge, but it creates a new question. Does the age of consent still exist in a post-apocalyptic world? Anyway, there are also a few characters you can recruit as companions. They all share the same brain cell and do more harm than good. Ian is a simple guy who lives by one principle. Took out a knife, cut. For 100 caps he is ready to die fighting deathclaws with nothing but a knife. Seriously, I tried to force him to use better weapons, but this idiot always took out a knife, even if he didn't have any in his inventory. Dogmeat can be recruited in Junktown with Iguana on a stick. He is a good boy, and his teeth are very effective against robots. Tycho is a desert ranger I met at the bar. We had a few drinks and, just like real men, headed straight to the casino. No, not to gamble, but to kill the local criminal authority. And that was the start of our bizarre adventure. There's also Katya, whose existence I completely forgot about and haven't recruited. Personally, I don't like to use followers, because over time you become attached to this collection of pixels, and guess what happens next? Yes, fucking super mutants, obliterate them with a minigun. That adds a little more drama to the game, because unlike in Fallout 4, your comrades aren't immortal entities used for bullet sponging, and they can actually die in combat. Also, I completely understand people who recruit Ian and use him as a mule. It turns out companions have unlimited space in their inventory, so you can load everything you find onto them without worrying about overloading your character. The only downside is that you can't take it back through the barter menu, because they demand money for your items, so you need to steal them back. Don't worry, they don't mind it and won't turn hostile like other NPCs. While playing, my game crashed a few times, and somehow I managed to fuck up my save. In short, I couldn't enter Brotherhood of Steel to get my power armor, because instead of giving me a quest, two paladins were just standing still, saying fine. Luckily, the game is old, and people already found solutions to all problems, so I quickly fixed this. Also, my mouse was a little laggy, and changing Gamma to 8 magically solved solve the problem, but I didn't gather you here to complain about a game that's older than me. All I want to say is, just make sure to save often, utilizing all available slots. As I've already mentioned, there are a lot of places to explore, which include but are not limited to a radioactive crater, a military base, and of course, big cities. You can stumble upon them on a global map or highlight their location by talking to specific NPCs. Unfortunately, with low intelligence, this isn't an option, because you can't speak. So, most of the time you will be blindly running on a map, praying to find the needed location faster than another random encounter. Speaking of which, there are a lot of events that can interrupt your traveling from point A to B, known as random encounters. Mutants, raiders, traveling merchants, animals, it can be anything, which is why they are called random. Most of them exist for one simple purpose: to reduce the overall quality of your time in the Wasteland. Aside from random encounters, there are also special encounters. These events trigger depending on the player's luck and can be easily recognized by a target icon on the map. Half of them are just funny stuff like giant footprints, talking animals, and an unusual call box, which is basically a Doctor Who Easter egg. The other half are actually useful. For example, the alien ship with an insanely OP weapon, Bob with his BB gun, and my favorite special encounter, a fucking crash. I'm not even joking, there's a chance that your game will crash on a special encounter, so be prepared for this. One of the most frustrating things about this game is that you can't tell NPCs to move away when they block you. At first it happened to me in the Boneyard, while I was talking with Razor. I don't like blades, or to be exact, I hate this room, because every time someone blocks the doorway, preventing me from either entering or leaving. Once I was waiting so long that lost my temper and disintegrated this fucking NPC. The second time was when I brought two paladins to the military base, activated a self-destruction timer, and couldn't escape because they blocked me near the elevator. Someone had to die for the sake of the others, and of course, I'm not talking about myself. I couldn't kill them directly, because it would jeopardize my relationship with the Brotherhood. So for the next minute, I was running through force fields until one of the paladins turned into ashes. My struggle with force fields in Mariposa can be described without swearing, because when you fail 8 repairs in a row, something breaks inside you. Luckily, there is a solution to this problem, and it's called radio. If your repair skill is extremely low, just connect a radio to the computer and control force fields as you like. Of course, this only affects the yellow ones. Red force fields can be turned off, they are too damaged to be repaired and immune to explosions. So yeah, just take damage and move on. Every town in Fallout 1 offers you a variety of different quests. Completing them gives you experience, but more importantly, a better understanding of what is happening in the world. For example, a few caravans of Fargo traders recently disappeared, and you need to find out what happened to them. You accept the job from Butch, talk with several people to collect the information, and in the process, you find yourself in a cave with a Deathclaw, the main suspect in this case. After killing it, you can speak with a dying mutant and receive the holodisk that explains what really happened to the caravans. Essentially, the mutants were just kidnapping the merchants and infecting them with a forced evolutionary virus. You can read more about this in-game, but basically, FAV is a green liquid that turns living creatures into mutants. Effects vary for each species. Dipped into vats full of virus, humans turn into super mutants. Centaurs are hybrids of several animals merged together. And floaters, I don't know what the heck were these things before they mutated, but such abominations shouldn't exist. There are also unique cases like Harold. You might mistake him for a ghoul, but that's not true. Due to relatively low radiation damage and his limited exposure to FAV, Harold became a completely different mutant. He is one of my favorite NPCs, and the only character you can meet in 3 Fallout games. For a few caps you can hear the story of his life and how he got exposed to FAV. It turns out Harold was part of an expedition led by Richard Gray to the Mariposa military base.
Richard Gray was a doctor. A little older than me, and Fran was he smart.
Richard Gray sounds familiar, doesn't it? In short, their expedition didn't end well. Almost all participants died in the process. Harold passed out, while a giant crane knocked Richard into a vat full of virus, where he marinated for some time. Basically, this event created the Master, and it was really interesting to read Gray's diary, where he described everything that happened to him after he drugged himself out of the vat. It's worth saying that the only way you can be infected by FAV is through injection or direct contact with the green liquid. It's not transmitted in any other way. There are multiple endings in this game, and in one of them you can side with mutants. In about 2 in-game weeks I became a freak, betrayed my people and doomed them to death. Needless to say, it's one of the most dark and disturbing endings I've ever seen in video game. Despite its many strengths, Fallout 1 has a major drawback. It's short. Really, one playthrough will take approximately 12 hours if you focus on the main objectives. Luckily, the game is highly replayable, and each time I discover something new. For example, in my recent playthrough, I witnessed police brutality when guards accidentally shot innocent people on the street and decided to execute the entire district. You may have noticed that I talked about traits and skills, but didn't say anything about perks. Don't worry, we finally got to it. First of all, there are no good or bad perks, because it depends on your playstyle. For example, awareness. There's no reason to pick awareness if you're playing without companions, but if you do, it's essential, because they are stupid and don't use stim packs outside of fights, so you need to monitor their HP and heal them when it gets too low, or you can just let them die. Really, it's up to you. Perks are acquired every 3rd level, or every 4th if you take skilled. The maximum level of your character is 21, so theoretically you can choose only 7 perks or 5 with skilled. If you want to feel more comfortable in combat, take better positions and get hit less often, the bonus move and action boy perks are excellent choices. Generally, extra action points is the difference between getting pounded 3 times or 1. It doesn't sound like much, but when your enemies can one-shot you with a random critical, it becomes more valuable, especially if you're playing with a melee build. Alternatively, you can just build your game around critical hits. Better criticals is one of the best perks in the game, and you can always get more criticals to increase your critical chance by 5% for each rank of this perk. It's all about your preferences. At level 18 you can get the strongest perks in the game, Sniper and Slayer. Sniper turns every point of your character's luck into a 10% critical chance, and if you're running around with 10 luck, guess what? Every one of your shots will be critical. Slayer does pretty much the same, but for melee builds. Once you acquire one of these perks, there's no one left in the game who can pose a threat to you. Most enemies will die with a single hit, except for Deathclaws, of course. Night. That sounds cool and all, but how do we reach level 18? That's the best part. You don't. Most players finish the game around level 14, and that's completely normal. But if you want to show off and assert your dominance, the only way to get them is by farming Deathclaws in the Boneyard. They respawn every hour if you didn't kill the mother. Otherwise, you can grind super mutant patrols around the military base. Also, I find it really funny that eggs can mock you during battle. Once, I killed the mother Deathclaw, but didn't want to waste my ammo shooting eggs, so I decided to destroy them with my bare hands. It was pure comedy, because my character wasn't very good in melee combat, and each time I missed an egg, it immediately made fun out of me. If you're playing with Fallout Fixed, keep in mind that you can't use drugs or power armor to meet prerequisites for Sniper and other perks. I didn't know about this, and foolishly started my melee playthrough with 7 strength. The only thing that saved me from missing out on the Slayer perk was a doctor in the Brotherhood of Steel. Despite his claim that he could perform only 1 surgery, he did 2 for me. First, he increased my strength, allowing me to finally get the Slayer perk, and then, out of pity, he offered me a discount to increase my intelligence as well, because my character was a complete dumbass. Unfortunately, it didn't help. Also, levels and attributes aren't the only things that separate you from the strongest perks. I was quite surprised to find out that for the Sniper perk, you need to have at least 80% in small guns. Why do I need small guns at all when I'm using energy weapons? I have no idea. Luckily, you can pump up your skills by reading books, so that wasn't a problem. Now let's discuss builds. I played with many of them and had a lot of fun. As you all know, charisma is generally useless in the first Fallout. I mean, yeah, you can talk your way through the entire game, but it's hard as hell and not enjoyable. Luckily, violence is a universal language, and with a good combat build, you will have a much better gaming experience. You can use any of the builds I shamelessly stole, or make your own. It's not difficult, and if you're interested, I've left a few links in the description that can help new players. The best way to describe all these builds is by sharing my own experience, so let's get to it. First of all, I fucking love big guns. Rocket launchers, flamethrowers, miniguns. Seriously, I can't describe the satisfaction when one burst of gunfire turns two super mutants into shredded pieces. And it's not just miniguns. Every weapon in this game has a unique killing animation. You can set your enemies on fire and watch as they dance into oblivion, or delete them from existence using rocket launcher. This time I decided to play with high intelligence, and it's actually incredible how different my experience was compared to playing with low intelligence. You literally skip many interesting dialogues and quests, so I don't recommend playing as a dumbass character on your first run. Overall, having high intelligence provides more benefits, a ton of skill points, the ability to articulate your thoughts into sentences, and you can even play cards with a supercomputer. I never won a single game. Also, there was one unpleasant incident in Junktown when some crazed raider took a prostitute hostage after she laughed at him. Unfortunately, I let my intrusive thoughts win and threatened him several times, so we started shooting each other. In the process, my Gatling laser bisected prostitute, raider, and half of the hotel visitors, who immediately turned hostile. And just like that, I missed my one and only chance to get laid. As you can see, I was playing with companions. My desire to finish the game with all of them alive inflicted additional pain on me, because the worst thing you can possibly do when playing with big guns is to take companions. Not only are they constantly dying, but also get in the way of your shooting. As soon as you take a good position in combat, they run forward, stand in front of you, and take a burst from your minigun right in the back. I can't count all the times I loaded my save files, but I assure you, it was a lot. Small guns are the weakest weapons in game. Without crits, they deal pathetic amount of damage, and for some reason consume 6 action points. Basically, one shot from pistol is equivalent to one burst from minigun, except you do 20 damage. Aside from Red Rider, the 223 pistol is the best small gun in the game, which you can get as a reward for helping a man in the hub remove raiders from his house. Normally, you can just run into city, finish this quest and get your new pistol. No, you need to be at least level 6, otherwise he will just laugh at your miserable suggestion to help him, and honestly, it's not worth it. Small guns are weak in the first Fallout. They are not even close to energy weapons, which, no matter from the stage of the game, obliterate everything that moves. I'm talking, of course, about plasma rifle and alien blaster. Plasma rifle can be upgraded to turbo plasma rifle, reducing action points per shot and slightly increasing the damage. No wonder it's one of the strongest builds in the game, because insane weapon range and high damage output allow you to kill anything in mere seconds, turning desk-low farming into a pleasant experience. Now I am the strongest being in the Wasteland, so what if I am? I feel empty. Having the overwhelming strength is pretty boring when there's only 2 bosses in the game. 1, actually, because I doubt you can count Lieutenant as a complete boss. Unlike Plasma Rifle, Alien Blaster isn't upgradable, and the only way to find him is by special encounters. If you're lucky, you will see UFO with 2 dead aliens beside it. One of them has painting of Elvis, whereas the other has extremely OP weapon and one of the key items for ultimate junkie build. Let me tell you a story. One day I was browsing YouTube when my attention was suddenly caught by a random video about Fallout, where one man with a pre-war mic and a dream completed the entire game in less than an hour. I was compelled to recreate this, and now I can confidently tell you that Dumbass Junkie is the strongest build in the game, that turns your average playthrough into speedrun. Forget about plasma rifle, perks, power armor, because everything you need is one alien weapon and a bag full of drugs. You may wonder, what the fuck are those stats? 2 strength and 6 agility? That's ridiculous. ridiculous. How are we going to fight? The answer is very simple. Psycho. 2 injections increase your damage resistance so high that you can tank death claws in a vault suit. It also boosts your 6 agility up to 10, allowing you to make 2 consecutive shots with the alien blaster, which is usually more than enough to kill 99% of enemies in a single turn. However, this drug has very unpleasant side effects. It makes your character so stupid that instead of 2 packs of menteds, you have to use at least 5 just to talk with people. And if you get addicted, oh boy, those side effects will stay with you for a whole week. That's why we don't use Psycho without a good reason, only to farm death claws and kill 2 bosses. For reference, I finished the game in about 2 hours, killed Master with 3 shots, and Lieutenant took only 2, before showing me his insane death animation, which lasts more than 10 seconds. But let's get back to the other builds. Do you like punching your enemies into submission? Because Unarmed does exactly that. Add this low intelligence and you can effectively roleplay as your favorite anime character. Maybe it's not the strongest build, but it's definitely the funniest one. The same goes for melee. After getting the super sledgehammer, you can enjoy the game in full force, and it's quite easy to do so. Just head to the hub, gamble for money, and talk to Jacob. Initially, he won't sell you this weapon. You need to talk with him again, say goodbye, and then the super sledge will appear as the last item in the barter menu. As always, thanks to the commenters on Reddit and various forums. Those guys never let you down. Basically, the super sledgehammer is like a power fist with longer range, except you don't need ammo for it. Also, I decided to play with the Bloody Mess trait. It's a purely cosmetic feature that turns every enemy's death into extremely violent animations, and I love it. However, this build has a very unpleasant downside. Every damn hit on an enemy knocks them back 1 mile away, making you run a marathon to hit them again, even with Action Buoyant bonus move perks. This is a real problem, because you deal from 13 to 30 damage and can't aim for the eyes, so you end up messing around with super mutants for 10 minutes, and during that time, some random schmuck with a rocket launcher shoots at you twice, wiping out all of your HP. The best you can do in this situation is bait your enemies into a building and then hit them against the wall. If you're in an open space, well, there's not much you can do. Just hit one of your enemies and pray for a critical hit to kill him in 1 turn. This method will save you a lot of action points that you might have lost running marathons. I intentionally skipped throwing in my story, because throwing sucks. There's nothing good about it, and you have to be completely insane to even consider playing with it. I'm not denying that you can make a hybrid character who specializes in melee combat and occasionally throws some shit at your enemies, but as a standalone class, throwing is pure hell. Mainly because your arsenal is very limited, hard to obtain, and much heavier than ammunition. Combined with very tedious combat, this makes throwing one of the least popular skills. So, I finished the game multiple times, saved a few settlements, and literally changed the Wasteland for good. And what did I get in return?
I'm sorry. You're a hero, and you have to leave.
Now I hope you understand why I killed the Overseer in every single playthrough. Once I hit him so hard that he violated the laws of physics and gave me a fit of laughter. I've played this game for so long that now I can't imagine Fallout without the turn-based combat system and isometric graphics. It would be blasphemous not to mention the amazing voice acting in this game. Thanks to Jamie Thompson and his many acquaintances, you can hear all these famous actors in Fallout 1, especially Jim Cummings and Tony J. They did such a great job that their lines will forever remain in my memory as some of the best villain voices in games. And it's not just the voice acting, the gameplay, story, role-playing. I'm genuinely impressed. It's been a long time since I was so involved in a video game, and I'm really glad that I finally decided to play this cult classic. In summary, the game is great, I enjoyed it very much, and it serves as a perfect example of good old days, when Fallout was actually an interesting game, and Preston Garvey didn't want my help with another settlement.